and we replace that. We only take off the Wi-Fi, the Safaricom, or it's called the what, the yes, the SD card, and we put it in the new one. But we also put in the Safaricom, the Telcom, or the Airtel network bits, and then we replace them. Then we check. If it is working, it will definitely identify the voter that had registered in that particular station. And what we do and put in the KIMS kit are the voters that had identified themselves, that had registered in that particular polling station. If indeed we find you through alphanumeric and you are not registered to vote there, the KIMS kit will tell you to go to the station where you registered to vote. The other thing that I need to say is this. If all the KIMS kits that we have failed, and there is no way in which it can be repaired, that KIMS kit is set aside, and we have to escalate and give permission to the use of physical register in that station. And this has to move to the RO, and the RO needs to take this matter to the director of voters. The director of voters needs to tell the commission, and the commission needs to give permission for the use of physical register. So we have physical register at the station, but it is not a primary identifier of a candidate or of a voter. It cannot be, because the Supreme Court had given us the protocol of how that can be used and done. So this one is ready. Nobody that has registered will be stopped from voting. There's no barrier unless we don't find you. And like Mheshimiwa is saying, there are certain people that cannot be found through their ID cards because they used their passports and they forgot. So we want you to remember which particular identification did you use for registration. So this is important. This has to be cleared. Did you use your passport or you used your ID? Then we find you.
And I think,
thank you.
Yes. I think just to also add on to what Commissioner has said, is I know that even for that to happen, it has to be with concurrence of all the polling agents of the various political parties on site, but also with our chief constituency or county agent, and that the Form 32A will be filled in accordance to the law, so that the call is not the basic 6 clerks in the polling station, but the higher authority, but that political parties would have to concur to that event having happened. And I think I'd also urge voters to know that for 7 days before polling, which is starting tomorrow, your list of registered voters, which is like a manual register, is actually hung at the door of your polling station for 7 days. So as Kenyans, I think as an act of responsibility, go check if you're on the register. If you're a young person, I appeal to you to go and check on behalf of your grandmother, your elderly members of a family, or those who are busy. Go and check at the polling station so that that day there are no surprises.
Yeah, thank you, Gladys, for that. Yes, that's
right,
very, very important.
Just a moment, Justice, because also Esther Passaris had a question for you. Esther?
Yes, Commissioner, I just want to know something. I mean, the issue of the stamps. I want to understand, if, for instance, we end up with, let's say, 1 million votes that are not counted because they didn't have a stamp for specific candidates or specific positions, would the IEBC then be culpable because it would be by design that the ballots were not stamped? Is IEBC taking responsibility for any ballot that will be marked as spoiled because of not being stamped? Because that could be an area of concern for anyone who's in this election. So I just want to know, where does the buck stop when it comes to the stamped ballots at the polling station? Because if we end up, for instance, let's say in Nairobi, I'm running for woman rep, and let's say you stamp everyone's forms, but you don't stamp the woman rep's form by design, so that I end up with a number of rejected votes. Who will be responsible? Is it the voter who's responsible, or is IEBC's failure to stamp the ballot at the polling station? I want to know whether the buck stops with IEBC on stamping all the ballots, or are you expecting the voter to confirm that the ballots are stamped? Who is responsible for that particular part of the electoral process?
Thank you. I think what we need to also understand is that there is responsibility on both sides to ensure that the correct thing is done. As IEBC, we have trained all our clerks that no ballot paper is given to a voter without stamping. This is an issue that we have gone through very, very rigorously, and it will never be deliberate. That I assure you. And it will never happen. If it does happen, we take responsibility, because it is our stamp, it is our work, it is our responsibility. But I assure you that though it sounds hypothetical, maybe it can happen, but this is a training that we have given our clerks to do before they give that out. So I would like to request all voters that are listening, that are hearing, that please, as you are given the two ballot papers, make sure that there is also a stamp at the back.
Right.
But and because you are going to fold it, the stamp will be visible and will be facing you.
All right. So you say that in case any eventuality that it is not really stamped, you'll take responsibility. That responsibility, does it take cognizant that this is a spoiled vote? And if at all is a spoiled vote, or how will you classify this lack of stamping and that particular ballot paper? Because now it is not the fault of the voter, it is the fault of the agency, which is IEBC.
Yes.
So do we recount this particular, how then do you deal with that particular ballot paper, which is very critical?
You know, at this time, Debal, this is hypothetical. But we are
playing with the case scenarios. It could happen. So in the case, yes.
It will not happen. No clerk will give the voter a ballot paper without stamping. That is something that we have made sure will not happen. And I'm sure if that happens, then everybody will actually want to see how did that pass the test, and is this a real vote anyway? And we are going to agree on everybody in all the stations agree with the agents. What is it that we consider as a spoiled vote, as objected to vote, and all that stuff, so that in the station they know exactly what they can allow to pass. But this particular one, I'm assuring you, will not be there.
And also,
yes, Gladys.
I think one of the things Esther Passaris should do, which we are doing with our own agents, is we are training them that they must keep their eye on that ballot and ensure that it's being stamped, that stamping is going on. So yes, as much as we know that IEBC should do it, and IEBC dedicates a clerk to do that. That means if that clerk is not stamping the ballots, what are they doing? You know, it's just the only thing they do. So they would have to have left the room. But also, I would appeal to all the political party agents, our own agents. We have informed them that one of the things you watch in that polling station is that ensure the stamping is going on at all times.
Right.
And I think on the size, I think someone raised on the size of the number of agents in the polling station. I do remember being at the polling stations during the by-elections that were going on. Remember, those are classrooms in public schools, and they take quite a number of students. I don't think any public school that are used, they usually will have less than 50 students sitting in that class. And so, if you think about it, the agents, yes, will be many, maybe 14 in any particular polling station. But I remember during the by-elections, we agreed with the IEBC and all the agents that so many stand far away and they could keep changing turns to sit at different strategic points so that not all of you are crowding at one particular table. So this has happened in the past. We've always had many agents. This year is not going to be any different. And therefore, I don't think any candidate who demands that they want to have an agent on their own behalf should be denied the ability to be able to do that, because it has always happened and we have always managed.
So, I think
Okongo Mogeni has a query or a question?
Yeah, just, it's kind of an assurance that there will be a very huge number of agents in polling stations. Because I think the two major political parties have allowed candidates to pick their own agents, unlike before, where most parties picked one agent for the party to represent all the 6 candidates. So I just want to hear from the commission here whether they have put in place arrangements that will accommodate in the classrooms all the agents of these candidates. And number 2, that they have also put in place arrangements, administrative arrangements that will ensure that all these agents are given copies of the forms that declare results at the polling centers and also at the tallying center, because that's an integral process of showing transparency in an electoral process. But I have not heard the commissioner giving that assurance to Kenyans, which will be of comfort to candidates, that the agents will be there and that they will be given the statutory forms, each of the candidates, at the closure of the exercise.
Right, thank you. But Commissioner, you want to handle that before we take a short break?
Yes, let me do that. With regards to the number of agents in a room, we can only have a room the size that we get in a school, in a center. And if it is the usual room, of course, obviously, we have all these boxes, but we also have other arrangements, and we have people sitting there. We cannot extend the physical state and stage of a room. And I would like to ask political parties to be sensitive to each other in sharing. We can really not crowd too much, because also there is the health requirement that we shouldn't do that. So I'm just asking political parties to be alive to the fact that that is the room that we have. We can make do with whatever size that we have.
No.
But political parties are required to be represented by one agent in that room, so that that representation provides comfort for political parties.
Excuse me, Commissioner.
Yes.
Please, don't allow us to have a chaotic 9th of August. We need that day to be very friendly to all of us. The law, if you read the Elections Act, the law allows political parties to notify IEBC that it has given a free hand to its candidates to pick their own agents. Once that is done, the electoral body cannot deny candidates the right of having their agents in the classroom. And I want to assure you, Commissioner, if you did that, then you're going to trigger so many electoral petitions after the results. Candidates have a constitutional right to have their agents sit inside the polling centers and witness from open to closure the elections. So what you need to know is, if that option has been invoked by a political party, it is your commission that should put in place administrative arrangements that will accommodate all the agents. So what you need to be doing now, and I'm not directing you how really you should do your work, because I know you are all able commissioners, you should already be looking at the numbers and then putting in place administrative arrangements of accommodating all these agents. Because there is no way you are going to open the polling centers and then you deny agents who have letters from candidates the right to sit in and witness the way the elections will be carried out throughout the day.
Did you prematurely discuss that or give me that response before I gave you my response? Because what I was saying is that the law requires that all agents are given a place and access to the polling station. That's what I'm saying. That's what the law is saying. You and I are actually saying the same thing. There is no way in which we can deny an agent access to the station where he needs to be. But what I am saying, in some of the stations there are going to be many people. And what I'm saying is that even political parties and agents needs to be sensitive to the fact that whatever the room that we have is this one. Let us share it. That's what I'm saying. But everybody is given opportunity to be represented in the station so that they can give a certain level of comfort to their candidates that they are represented and they are watching and they are monitoring what is happening in the station. That's what I'm saying.
And the copies of statutory forms, when that assurance?
And the copies of the statutory forms, we can only give from Book 1. That is what we agreed about. This was negotiated and agreed upon. Initially, we had 12 of them, of Form A, from the stations, but we agreed with the political parties that were represented that we can only give 6. That is what we will do. The rest, if there are more, will be allowed to take a picture of the result that has been declared. All the results declared at the polling station is final. We are giving it to the media. We are giving it to the political parties. We are asking people that are represented in that station and saying very clearly, the result is for the people of Kenya. Once it has been declared at the polling station, it is no longer our result. It is for everybody. They can take a photo of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we want to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll have more queries for the commissioner here. and also to educate you on what will happen on the actual polling booth. This is the voting process that you will undergo, right? Once you check in there, I'll try and zoom in. You see that door is where you're going to come in. Voter enters polling station with ID or passport, and the issues of passport, if it's not being reflected on the KIMS kit, has been raised. What is the alternative? If you're just joining us now and you missed that, also the commissioner will reiterate that the voter identified and authenticated using KIMS kit. Then the third process is voter issued with 6 stamped ballot papers, what the commissioner was actually telling us as well. Then the fourth stage is you go now to your booth. Voter marks the ballot papers secretly. After that, now you go to the fifth stage where voter casts ballot papers in the labeled ballot boxes, and you can see they're in different colors, and the commissioner has also the ballot papers here and a dummy ballot paper as well, just to take you through and where the stamp will be, where you need to check as well, you as a voter. And then we have observers here as well. Let me just try and zoom out. Then they will be checking out the election observers, some of them from the international community as well. Then you have the agents that they're talking about. They will be seated there observing. Media will be there as well. And then we'll have the deputy presiding officer now inking your finger just to make sure that indelible mark is there, cannot be rubbed off easily. And then you'll be shown your way out from the polling station. Easy peasy, it might seem, but some of you might be confused. So it is just good that you go through it blow by blow. We take a short break right now. When we come back, of course, we'll look at this deeply and also look at some of the processes electronically. How is that also from the polling station? How is it beamed to the servers, back also to where the tallying center is? We shall look at that critically on the other side of the break. So if you have questions, this is a good opportunity that you can ask our panelist, the commissioner here, so that you can get clarification before you go to the material day, that is August 9. We'll take a short break. We'll circle back with more.